Guillaume Natuel here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Wizard Show, where I feature top leaders in business and e-commerce. Today, I have Sergej Derzap, I hope I didn't mispronounce that, who's the CEO of Amasty. So Amasty is a very successful plugin maker, you could say a software company for Adobe Magento plugin. So they add extension and additional functionalities to Magento. So you just buy the plugin, you add it to your e-commerce store, and this way you have more functionalities. So Amasty is a premier Adobe Magento partner, which is like top tier, and they're one of the most successful such partner in the world actually right now. The company with very good reputation. I'm happy to have you here, Sergej, so we can discuss e-commerce, Amasty, your business, COVID, the adaptation to COVID, and all those topics. So about Sergej, he's an MBA, now CEO of Amasty. He's a passionate leader with over 11 years of hands-on experience in IT and e-commerce. He sees his mission as contributing to the global development of e-commerce, automating, simplifying the day-to-day activities for both online retailers and their customers through collaboration, instant feedback, and continuous improvement. Just before we get started, this episode is brought to you by MageMontreal. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move up piled up dormant inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business process to gain efficiency and reduce human processing error, our company, MageMontreal, can do that. Here's the catch. We only work on the e-commerce platform Adobe Magento, nothing else. So we're among a handful of certified Adobe Magento companies in Canada. And even if you don't have Magento site, we've converted many sites over. So we do everything Magento, support, development, maintenance, training, anything you need, we got your back. So we can contact our support team, support@MageMontreal.com, or go to MageMontreal.com, MAGE Montreal.com. All right. So, Sergej, I'm very interested by your adaptation to COVID. So if you could please tell us, how does Amasty adapt to the COVID situation?
Yeah, sure, Guillaume. And first, I would like to say thank you for having me today here. Great pleasure to talk a little bit about e-commerce and about Adobe and Magento with you. So yeah, COVID is the main challenge of this year, and when it started for us early in March of this year, it was completely unknown what we're going to do and how it's going to change our business. So it was a very challenging task with a high volatility, I would say. And we decided to start, as every company, I believe, in IT industry, with complete lockdown. So every person in our office was free to start working from home. It was, I believe, very challenging task for us, because before we were proud to be co-located and have an opportunity to work together from the office, to have better collaboration and have more options to get faster feedback from one team to another and so on. And it means, okay, now it doesn't matter where you are sitting at home and working remotely. So it was one of the challenges for us, how to make sure we are still very mobile and we are fast in response, and we are still collaborating tightly and working remotely. And that in Belarus we do not have lockdown at all, so it was pretty challenging to explain how important to be at home and safe, your beloved ones, because nobody knew how deep this COVID is going to go and what is going to be the impact of it. And now I would say that it's probably one of the best things we've done this year is the way that we adopted remote work. And now there is no limits for us, no borders for our employees, and they are free to work from the place where they can be the most effective at the moment. So we like completely rethought all our processes and made it possible to go online. So it's pretty interesting. Maybe there are specific things, details, what you're interested in, so we can share with our Scott listeners a little bit more details.
Yeah, like some people have a hard time from their moral point of view, like, oh, I'm always locked up at home. Like, and it's difficult for them, especially the more social people. Like, do you offer to go to the office, or is the office locked down? Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, it was one of the challenges for us, and we introduced different kind of challenges in Instagram. So we have a corporate Instagram profile, and we were introducing different challenges for our employees. So they, like, for example, can make a photo of their workplace, and we posted all these workplaces just to show that, like, you can make your own home office convenient, and you can share insights with your colleagues to show how it could be. So it was one of things. Another thing, it was like non like technical, non-business webinars. So one of the best webinars we've done, it was like cocktail maker webinar. So we've introduced like the list of ingredients you need, and then like during an hour and a half, people were preparing cocktails online. Like it was like some kind of master class. So it was nice, and I believe it helped us a lot. Every week we tried to introduce something new to make like this isolation not so let's say significant. And I know that teams tried to make some parties online and so on. So um, they did a really great job on like staying very active online while it could be in the office. We even had like where they were just talking like non non work topics, like non business topics, just like water cooler channel.
Good. That's interesting. I like your cocktail ideas. Must be a fun company time there. Okay, and you have those water cooler channel and Instagram, so people can post picture of their home office that they're, how they're setting themselves up and so on. That's interesting. If you have more specific examples like what you guys did as special events, please let us know. Like everybody's looking for ideas how to handle this and the moral of the troops with everybody at home.
I believe that one of main challenges that everybody loved was GPS picture of different cities where our colleagues were before lockdown time, and they should guess what exactly like this GPS belongs to what city.
Okay,
And
which city that
it
picture
was
is?
yes, and it was very challenging even to recognize your own city when you have a snapshot like several square kilometers, and they'll say, okay, it could be anywhere.
Right. Okay, that's interesting games. Yeah, we've done some online games as well. So we have like the gaming time, one at least once a month that we meet after, and we have the gaming time. So there's a few groups that creates together here, and we have those gaming as well. Programmers, lots of gaming, obviously. Okay, so that's very interesting. Was there any other changes that you had to bring to your setup for like everybody working remotely? Like you said, you change your processes, but like, and
Yeah,
you
so
guys are many. Like you're over 100 employees. So like, how did you manage that? The scalability of all this?
yeah, so it was very good time to introduce changes, to try something new, because we already started to try something new. And usually, how Kotter says, the best thing to try to introduce changes is to understand the necessity of change. And now we've got an opportunity, like, to see it and try to make it better. So we try to experiment with processes, and that's how we've managed to switch to value streams based on SAFe methodology. And I would say it works really great. It helped us a lot to be in sync and to share valuable feedbacks, even regardless, online, offline, between support, marketing, management, delivery team, and product team. And we have design team there. So they're all syncing together at least once in a week. They have their own channels, and we have at least 4 different value streams at the moment, and at least 3 supporting streams that help us to run our business and make it like very agile. This is the first change. I think that it's the most dramatic change that we've made. We started trying it in the middle of summer, and now I'm very pleased to see the results of it. Another very great change that we've done, like, we just introduced it because we understood that almost all our like floors of the office, we have at the moment like 3 floors. We do not use them at all. Like, you can go to the floor and like find there only like 2-3 employees sitting in different corners. So they do not have a chance to communicate there, like to collaborate. So we decided to change a little bit this thing, and we introduced free desk. So now you don't have your personalized space, but you have any free desk that you need at your service. So you just open the app, like reserving desk for yourself, for your friend, if you already agreed to work together, and you are able to collaborate and sit together and discuss new opportunities. So it helps. And we started designing new office, taking into account concept of free desk.
Okay, so free desk, nobody has a dedicated personal space, and you sort of choose which day you come to the office, then you do the COVID disinfection of your desk, and then you sort of take that desk for the day.
Yeah, we agreed that at least once in a week, full COVID disinfection should be done for every place. That's why you don't need to have personal items there. You have specific special, I don't know, wardrobe where can you move all these personal things. And then like all office should be disinfected. And then you're able to reserve like your place for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, or just a couple of hours. It depends how you prefer to work. All week remotely, or like part-time in the office, part-time like at home, as you like.
Do you have that in one city with your main office, or did you expand that to other cities because now you're hiring internationally?
Yeah. Yes, the case is that it helped us to understand that we do not need to limit us in one city. And we started hiring in wider range. For example, right now we have several employees in Belarus, but out of the city. And we have a group of employees from Ukraine. And they are really great guys. And it's like win-win case when we are able to collaborate with great professionals and we're able to provide them the same conditions that for every employee in the office.
Very good. I guess that's a pretty good tour of COVID. Is there any last thing you'd like to add about COVID?
About COVID, we tried to help, like to make some donation for the companies at the pre-COVID era who are dealing with like medical treatment and all the things. So we introduced, I believe, 3 or 4, maybe even more online sites powered by Amasty completely. So we like provided them all our extensions we could provide them to open their shop and their business. Like, it should be some kind of very helpful for COVID businesses, like medical supplies, for example. And at least we understood that we are able to fulfill all needs of our customers with our own products, and even possibly got some feedback from them and understanding what is missing, what we should develop extra to this, to existing products to make even more useful for them. So it was like win-win case. We understood that like it's possible to make this way, and from other point of view, we help a little bit in this fight against COVID.
That's very interesting. So both like physical gifts and at the same time, because you're a software company, it's easy. Like once the software is built, it's already paid for. Like you could decide that you're gonna give some copies away to some stores, while some companies could be using to have an e-commerce store, so they have your extension there to add to Magento e-commerce. So it's a very interesting initiative that you're doing there. I guess the next topic would be the PWA, the Progressive Web App. That big thing. We hear a lot of Adobe talking about that. It's the big next thing that's coming up. The headless thing. So it simply means that the front end is truly completely separate from the back end of the application, which is not the case right now. It could have been built like this years ago, but it was not. And like the web standard are changing toward that way of doing things. And every platform, not just Magento, is doing this right now. They're all saying, "Oh, we are headless." The claim is true or partially true, depending on the platform. Yeah, what are your thoughts on PWA?
Yeah, as you said, it was an inevitable step because everybody is doing this, and when you in the era of integrations, like people say, omni-channel era, you understand that not everything should be developed by your own, right? So there are a lot of great products, services all over the world. Why should I like develop my own like payment system, like chat? I don't know, the CRM, if I'm able to integrate it into my website, right? But I would like to make sure it's not just, I don't know, a lot of different bricks what I'm not able to assemble in one solution. That's why it's like inevitable thing that you would like to assemble them somehow. And headless approach helps a lot here. You're free to experiment with your front end, having back end pretty independent with specific contracts via API and so on. And PWA is not new for the world, and it's already like spent some evolution with Google, right? So when Magento introduced it, it was already technology with some background. It's not like raw technology that nobody used before, right? And it's like, based on like my opinion, it's one of the best approaches for that currently is available for like front end. But the case is that for Magenta, it's completely new technology, and you need to understand how to use it in the Magenta world. And now it passes this stage of early adopters, right? Where technology is pretty expensive. You do not have a lot of know-how how to make it in the best way, and we're all learning to make it a little bit better, a little bit cheaper, and we're investing in it. We're preparing GraphQLs for our products. We're preparing PWA extensions to make development cheaper. And I do believe that I'm not sure how long it's going to take, maybe several months, maybe half of a year, maybe a year. But for sure, it's a future of Magento world, and in future, um, almost every new Magento solution is going to have it as the main solution for UI part.
Right. So you see it as the future, just it's a bit unclear, like the transition, how fast it's going to be, because right now it's an early adopter phase.
Yeah, it reminds me a great book from Clayton Christensen, like Innovator Dilemma, when he describes a lot of great examples how new technology substitutes the old one. It's inevitable process. And the main question, are you going to be there in innovation train, or you're going to deny it till the year end? And for Amasty, we decided to be in this train, and we invest in development of this technology. And every month we're introducing new PWA ready extension. So, and it's going to be a plan for the next year as well. So right now we have almost all our products where it's possible to introduce GraphQL as communication with PWA ready for this for PWA, and now it's a plan to introduce PWA part for each and every extension we have, like GraphQL ready and PWA ready. But the priority depends on user feedback. So, for example, we have a lot of store owners that are saying, "Hey, please make your navigation first." But sometimes it's a problem, not like we're not willing to make navigation, like our improved layer navigation PW already. But the problem is that sometimes technology has some bottlenecks, and you need to understand how Adobe itself is going to resolve them in their theme, what's currently developing and evolving with PWA world. And we're waiting for some solutions from this part, trying to invent our own solutions where it's possible. Step by step, we are releasing new and new extensions powered by PWA.
Yeah, okay. Because, like you say, we're in the early adopter stage, despite what some marketing might say otherwise. So there's a bit of a chicken or the egg question here that's happening, because merchants who decide to build a new site, let's say it's on Magento, and then they have to choose, am I doing a traditional site, or am I doing the new approach, a PWA site? And then you look at the list of extensions that are available, like Amasty has currently like 181 extension from Magento 2 as of today, but you have roughly 15 or so that are ready for PWA. So a lot of those additional features, like they would have to either pay a developer to do the transformation from your extension to a PWA version, or they would invest in a custom built development there, so it increased their development costs to go with the PWA approach. It tends to be like the larger company who are willing to go forward with this because it's a safe enough technology now. Like you can go forward with it. It's a good idea, but that chicken or the egg question, that like if there's more demand, you're going to make more PWA extension, but like because there's so few PWA extensions, fewer people choose to build a new project on PWA. So how do you see the demand right now? Like,
it's partially true, because from our variety of extensions, not all of them need front end.
right.
You're still safe to go with lots of different extensions where you don't need PWA at all. For example, I'm not sure if it's very crucial to have all your admin part powered by PWA.
You don't need that. You don't.
Yeah,
We just don't need it.
It's very narrow use case. I'm not sure how many people are checking their reports on mobile, because for example, when you're opening dashboard, it's not very convenient to see there a lot of minor details, right? So usually people, when they're doing admin part of their duties, prefer desktop. It's better, it's more convenient. That's why like you're free to make everything like, related to at least admin part, like in very widespread common solutions, and it's not going to change in the future. But when we are talking about like front end, you still have an option to experiment. You don't need to introduce every screen like based PWA. For example, some of them could be like with uh, no, it's like could be AB. You can try to make one screen powered by PWA, for example, landing page, like, and then, for example, see if it fits your needs at the moment, how expensive it is or not. Like, it's not going to be like huge investment to start with one MVP product and then understand, okay, I'm not ready for it yet, maybe in future for sure. And we started with such approach when we developed our first PWA extension. We tried to make it possible to use just one PWA extension to show the full screen for our client. Install just one extension and get like impression from like full screen. Like you don't need like 10 to assemble one user interface. Like it's not possible for every shop, it's not possible for every screen, but sometimes it's possible. And it could be good approach at least to grab this feeling, to understand if it's yours, if it's like worth investing there or not. And for us, you said good thing that it's very hard to understand if you should invest a lot there without any understanding how, for example, Magento is going to update their theme at the moment. We don't have their roadmap like 10 years in future saying, okay, we're going to introduce this stuff. You don't need to develop this stuff. You need to postpone this feature for the next year because we're going to add it like out of the box. And sometimes we're doing a lot of double work. For example, after the latest release, we had to little bit tweak all our existing extensions because of some changes in Adobe framework. So we are also trying to like to balance between doing nothing and wait for a bright future and invest maximum to build this future. So maybe like it depends on the like of the scale of the business. If you already have Magento 2 solution and you're thinking about introducing like redesign, maybe it's a good thing to start designing it for PWA because in half of a year is going to be like standard. But if you are not planning to do anything, maybe there is wider things where you can invest a little bit more money, right? So it's up to your business to understand what is the more valuable for you.
And, and you can have also section PW in some section that would not be, like, of course, the section with PW would have the benefits, the speed or access to some of the native features of a phone. So it's more acting like a native app rather than a website, which is very interesting, but at the same time does not have the downside that the app, you always need to download the updates, and people also are out of date with the content they get and so on. So with a website like that, PW website, they always have the latest version, nothing to download. This is a website. There's lots of interesting things going on there. So yeah, you could have section, like you were saying, the admin not being PWA, and perhaps you focus more on the front end, of course, being PWA. It could be a good thing for marketing, maybe, to just identify which extensions are not going to mess up your front end, the PWA friendly or something. I don't know. The true PWA ready. This extension is not PWA, but you can still add it to your PWA project. It could be interesting marketing to help. When you build the project plan there, that you can actually use those extensions for a PWA project.
For example, you can have blog based on PWA,
right?
And it has nothing to deal with your like main website.
True.
And really are going to get like better feed results and understand if you're going to transform to PWA or your website.
Very good example. I like it. Yeah, good idea. Yeah. So PWA, it's a lot of like exciting things coming, but it's early on. Not too sure if there's much more else to say for now. Like, do you have anything else to add about PWA?
As I said, we're doing our best to make sure that during next year, you're going to see more and more new PWA card extensions by Amasty, and at least I would say it's fair to declare that every month they're going to introduce one new extension based on PWA technology.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. And you guys have that new team that you've developed. It's very logical. You guys do so many extensions, and then you have one team that's sort of tested with all those extensions. So you're sure you install any of those 181 extension on that team. It's not going to have any issue. Would you like to tell us a bit about that new Jet team you guys built?
Yeah, so it was, I would say, inevitable part of our story. Then, after building a lot of different extensions, we should think about introducing our own theme. And no, market was demanding it. They're saying, okay, we would like very simple, very fast, very developer-friendly theme. Could you please develop one? So we started this year with initiative to develop our own theme. It took us like more than a half year to introduce MVP. We are still developing it. We're introducing new versions every 2 weeks. We're trying to introduce some updates every 2 weeks just to make sure that early adopters of our theme can feel the difference every 2 weeks and understand like if we are doing the right job or like there is something to change. So we are collecting feedback. We had a month with our like beta testers, like our real customers that kindly agreed to try our theme like when we were just in the beta phase. And we collect a lot of great feedback from them and tried to introduce the most crucial parts of this feedback in our MVP version. At the moment, we're getting ready to introduce it for enterprise. Hopefully, by this Christmas or early in the next year, it's going to be a release of enterprise version. That should be like next step of our theme evolution. And I believe that the main game changer for our team, it's not about just new theme that everybody demanded. I've seen that there are some other pretty good examples of great teams, but it's more about synergy working with our products. And this is our aim to make sure we can introduce not just one single product that works great in like isolation, but in Magento world, it's very hard to find all solutions from one vendor that have no issues with other solutions from different vendors. Or it's very hard to assemble full solution based on products from one vendor. And that's why we decided this year to go a little bit different. We agreed to narrow down maybe a variety of solutions we have, but to make sure that all of them coexist and make like ecosystem for like a solution for our client. So it's easy to assemble it. It's easy to kick off a new website based on Magento using our extension. So you just need to get our theme and how to say there are going to be different packs for different industries or for possible extensions that you can use with our theme safely. And we're doing a lot of testing, as you said, a lot of regressions done, every release of every A group model, so almost like not all like all our flagman models and all our popular models are tested with Amasty, Jet Team. They're tested in solutions, and that's why I believe, and as I said, like a year ago when we just started, that MFTF it's a future. You are not able to provide like full coverage for the testing if you have like more than 100 extensions and you need to test all of them. Every release, one with each other. There are so many pairs that it's like a predictable number of possible fixes that could like, or possible bugs that could appear. So when then we started to invest more and more in MFTF. And now I would say it helps us dramatically. You don't need to change to check everything like manually. You can run MFTF tests, check the results, and see how good they are. If you have something to fix, do you have new issues? Like, and it helps a lot. And when you have a team and you're able to check extensions not just one by one, but in integration with the team, it helps us to understand that there are possible issues like when you are using several products. And there are so many different combinations how our clients are using our products with different vendors. So sometimes very hard and unpredictable to make it. And here we have at least some like guaranteed free space that we have our own products, we have our own team, and we able to say that, okay, this is group of our products, and we tested them with our team, and it works perfectly.
Very interesting approach there, definitely. And I'm kind of curious to also discuss like the earlier days of Amasty. I know you're not the founder, but like you're the head of Amasty now. Like there are so many extension builders out there, but Amasty clearly stood out. You guys grew, you became a premier, partner there. You're clearly one of the leading, if not the leading partner in the ecosystem. So, do you see some key points? It's never just one thing. Do you see some key points that made sort of Amasty this success it is today from like the earlier days of like trying to differentiate and grow?
I'm not sure it's like if you're going to check mission of each and every e-commerce company, we're going to find there completely the same phrase that our mission is to help e-commerce to evolve, to help merchandiser to sell more and so on. But the key here, like I'm not going to be very original, that founders of Amasty are true entrepreneurs and developers. And they were building this company, like writing all products for Magento 1 themselves, trying to speak like with every client and understand their pains and gains, how to be more useful for them. And they were trying to implement everything on their own. When company started to grow faster with Magento 2 era, companies started to port more products, to develop more products. And for me, the main goal was when I came to the company to save the spirit, to make sure we are not going to be one more company that's selling extensions for anonymous clients, but to make sure we still preserve the spirit when we are more than just like vendor, we're a business partner. We would like to be business partner with all our clients to make sure we're going to build with them long story, not just like single purchase exercise, but to help them to set up this extension if it's required, to understand if it fit their needs, if not, to understand how we can introduce new features in our extensions to make sure that even take in account it's not going to pay us more because like it's lifetime free updates, but to make sure that it helps their business to be more successful, to understand how we can, I don't know, help with our services to build this long-term relationship. And right now, for example, we're doing next step. We're introducing a new era of support in Magento. We would like to introduce subscription for all our extensions ever bought by our clients. You don't need to pay for support, for license, for every extension you ever bought here. Just paying fixed price for all our extensions every month and getting support for all of them. It's not because like it's very specific topic for us to make sure that we're gaining a lot of money here. No, it's because we would like to make sure that we still can bring value to all our clients, our existing clients, even if they are not going to buy new products. Because like we believe that nowadays it's more important to have great customer base with glad clients that using your products, they're satisfied with them and they're promoting them than just to make sure you have great marketing company and you're selling more. So it's more about long-term relationships and to become business partners. And currently, all our efforts are aimed toward this goal. And I believe that this goal, that what was introduced basically by our founders, and this is a game changer when you truly believe that you are here to help every medium-sized entrepreneur to grow their business. And when you think not how to sell, but how to help to grow, selling's inevitable part of the story. But when you're focused on how to sell, but not how to help, you're not going to sell a lot.
True. Yeah, very interesting. Reminds me of some other concept like Toyota finding that focusing on cost reduce cost less than focusing on quality. So sometimes it's not the direct approach, but the focusing on something else, and then there's like a tangent of where the maximum impact is to have that growth that you want. Yeah. Very interesting insights. Thank you for sharing, Sergej. Is there any last topic that you'd like to address for today?
I believe we have one surprise for podcast listeners that we would like to share here today. We prepared several special prizes for podcast listeners. For the best comment, and I believe the topic of the best comment could be, do you feel the difference between Amasty 1 year ago and now? And what you think is the main difference between these two companies, like evolution of this company? And for the best comment, based on Guillaume's opinion, we would like to introduce two prices. They're equivalent, but in same time, they're a little bit different. If you are going to develop new shop for your business based on old-fashioned Magento 2 technologies, like very robust and powerful, we would like to introduce for you a 50% discount for any of 3 jetpacks we currently have. You can open our website and see 3 different jetpacks. One of them could be about optimization, another about fancy promo companies and so on. So you can find the best for you, and we're going to make 50% discount for each of them. Or if you would like to try out PWA extensions, we're going to provide 3 PWA extensions for free for you to try them and understand how do you like them. Maybe you can introduce your own very small MVP based on them and see if you like this technology. So based on Guillaume's pick of the winner of this challenge, you will have this opportunity to get this prize.
Very interesting surprise there, Sergey. Okay, so I have to pick the winner of who's giving the best comment of like how did MST change from like now versus a year ago, and what changed, what's better, and then they can pick between 3 free MST extension PWA extensions or 50% discount on any jet packs that you guys have here. So okay, very interesting prize. We'll mention it in the podcast, and look forward to see everybody's comment about this. Sergey, thank you for being with us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.